More than 4,000 years ago, long before the name Babylon became a legend, this land was only a quiet stretch of fertile earth beside the Euphrates River. Here, the very first settlers discovered a fundamental truth that would change history forever. Water was the miracle capable of transforming a desolate desert into the cradle of human civilization. As generations passed, the Euphrates brought far more than life-giving water. It brought trade, agriculture, and the foundation of the very first urban societies. Simple mud brick villages slowly transformed into organized, thriving communities. Along these riverbanks, humanity began creating something entirely new. Cities were no longer just places to live. They were becoming dynamic centers of power, knowledge, and culture. From these humble beginnings, a name that would echo for thousands of years began its quiet ascent. Babylon was still young, but the foundation of its extraordinary destiny had already been laid. By the middle of the 19th century BC, Babylon was no longer a forgotten settlement. It was a rising power in a fierce land where ancient cities fought for control of civilization itself. 400 years of quiet building had prepared this city to enter history. In 1792 BC, a young king named Hammurabi inherited a modest kingdom. But Hammurabi saw far beyond Babylon's mud brick walls. He envisioned a glorious metropolis that would become the true heart of Mesopotamia. He understood that true power was not built solely through military conquest. A great kingdom required roads, trade, administration, and above all, order. Hammurabi's greatest legacy was not the territory he conquered, but a revolutionary idea, the concept that a civilization could be governed through written law. The laws carved into stone steles would survive long after his empire disappeared into history. Under his rule, Babylon transformed into a vibrant center of ancient learning. Mathematics, astronomy, and literature turned the city into a beacon of knowledge. For a brief, shining moment, Babylon stood at the center of the known world. Its streets carried merchants from distant lands, its temples preserved sacred beliefs, and its scholars guarded wisdom for future generations. Hammurabi changed Babylon forever. He turned a small kingdom into a universal symbol of law, power, and civilization. Every empire carries the seeds of its own challenges. Around 1600 BC, foreign Kassite rulers took control of the city. Yet they discovered that Babylon's true strength was not its army, but its overwhelming culture. Instead of replacing Babylon, the conquerors adopted the very civilization they had subdued. Through centuries of shifting powers, the collapse of the Bronze Age, and the rise of the terrifying Assyrian military empire, Babylon was caught between survival and destruction. Empires could conquer its physical walls, but they could never erase its spirit. In 626 BC, after centuries beneath foreign rule, the city that refused to disappear reclaimed its freedom. The age of the Neo-Babylonian Empire had arrived. King Nebuchadnezzar II dreamed of building a city unlike any the world had ever seen. Stone by stone, Babylon became an architectural masterpiece. The Ishtar Gate welcomed travelers with brilliant glazed blue walls that seemed almost impossible for the ancient world. At its peak, its beauty, wealth, and power became legendary. Yet even the greatest empires cannot escape the relentless turning of history. In 539 BC, Babylon changed rulers without losing its grandeur. Cyrus the Great of Persia entered the city not as a destroyer, but as a king who chose to preserve one of humanity's greatest capitals. Under Persian rule, Babylon remained a jewel of administration, wealth, and prestige. 2 centuries later, a new force arrived. When Alexander the Great entered Babylon in 331 BC, he saw not a fallen city, but a magnificent metropolis. Alexander dreamed of making Babylon the official capital of his vast, new empire, a city that would unite the East and the West. For a brief moment, the ancient city seemed destined for another golden age. But in 323 BC, Alexander died suddenly within the palaces of Babylon. With his death, the dream of making this city the center of a united world died as well. Babylon was not destroyed in a single catastrophic battle. Instead, it slowly surrendered its future, not to war, but to time. As the neighboring city of Seleucia grew, Babylon began losing the people who gave it life. Monuments alone could not keep a city alive. Without citizens to maintain its walls, the great metropolis quietly faded. Without constant human care, Babylon slowly yielded to nature. Wind, rain, and time proved more patient than any invading army. Stone by stone, the greatest city of Mesopotamia vanished beneath the landscape, returning to the desert earth from which it had once risen. For more than 2,000 years, Babylon existed only as a memory. It lived on in sacred texts, ancient manuscripts, legends, and stories carried across continents by generations who wondered where the legendary city had once stood. After more than 1,000 years of silence, the earth beneath the desert began to speak again. In the modern era, archaeologists began digging into the quiet mounds beside the Euphrates. Beneath the soil waited the remains of a civilization that had shaped human history. The silent bricks finally found a voice. Forgotten symbols carved thousands of years earlier revealed the lives of kings, engineers, and ordinary people. The blue bricks of the Ishtar Gate re-emerged into the light, returning not as a symbol of military conquest, but as a treasure belonging to all human civilization. Babylon survived kings, foreign empires, centuries of abandonment, and even the uncertainties of modern conflicts. Today, recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, Babylon belongs to all humanity. It was born beside the Euphrates River more than 4,000 years ago. Its magnificent walls have fallen, and its rulers have disappeared into the dust. But its laws, its knowledge, and its ideas remain. Babylon is no longer a city of imperial power. It has become an eternal memory of what humanity can achieve.